Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone. Good morning. How about your fasting today? I hope it's going fine and it's going all right. So, anyways, we are from group 5. In this video, we're gonna deliver a material about categories of meaning, sense, and reference, modality, tense, and aspect subordination. But before that, group 5 is consists with me, Agus Nurdin, and then Azmi Tajmillah, and the last one is Bunga, Fairuz. And the first material is gonna delivered by Azmi. For Azmi, time is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for the occasion. I will explain the category of meaning. So, we kind of strange if we define meaning. I mean, if we give explanation or definition for meaning, because we cannot touch, we cannot see, we cannot taste, but we can feel it, right? Because we are in the semantics class, so this is important for us because meaning is important because by knowing the meaning, we know how to use vocabulary in meaningful sentences and then understand the sentences produced by others. We can choose or use a word because we understand the meaning. We know the meaning. How we can produce a sentence or word if we don't even know what the meaning of the word? According to Leach, he distinguishes 7 types of meaning. So the first one is conceptual meanings. It refers to literal or dictionary meaning. It also called denotative or cognitive meaning. You have to highlight the literal and denotative meaning. We learned denotative meaning from previous meeting. So we have to know what is denotative meaning. As I mentioned before, that conceptual is dictionary meaning. It means it is what it is. So, for example, boy is male, human, adult. Girl, female, human, adult. So you cannot say that boy is a food, girl is a tool. You cannot say that because boy belongs to male, human, or adult, and same goes to girl. Girl belongs to female, human, or adult. Next. Connotative meaning. Different to conceptual meaning. Conceptual meaning is the kaku one meaning, but connotative is more flexible than conceptual meaning. So connotative is kind of associated, implied, or referential meaning. Certain characteristics or features are associated with a particular word. So it means one word can has many meanings. For example, rose, it refers to love. For example, when you're falling in love to someone, you will give him a rose. It means that you love him. Okay? And the next example is moon. Moon belongs to beauty. If someone says that you like moon, it doesn't mean that you face uh, a lot of bopping like moon, but you you're beautiful. In Indonesia, uh, commonly give their names. I mean, give their daughter names bulan gitu. It means kan cantik seperti itu. Next is stylistics, meaning it defines as the study of the style of different writers and types of literature and element of languages. For example, somebody is somebody dead. So um, maybe there will be many style to explain that someone is dead. The first one is we can say that he died. The second one, we can say he passed away. The third one, we can say he left for heavenly abode. But these examples have some meaning, right? They have different style in sentences, but they have some meaning. Next, effective meaning. So effective meaning of a word is directly related to the emotion and mood of the speaker as well as the listener. The personal feelings expressed by a speaker or writer. So for stylistic meaning, it depends on the way someone writes, the way their style to write, but in effective meaning, it depends on the way the speaker deliver the message. For example, you are a teacher in a class. Then you are in the situation of a noisy class. You have to give direction to your students to silent, right? If you get angry, you say, shut up with a high tone. But there is alternative to say that, for example, could you be quiet, please? You can choose two types of this example. As I mentioned before, that this affective related to emotion and mood. So it would be better that you choose the second one. Again, this example have some meaning. It means you want to your student silence. Reflective meaning. The meaning which arise in cases of multiple conceptual meaning, when one sense of a word forms part of our response to another sense. We will talk about sense in another material. So I will illustrate what sense is. For example, I say to Bunga, like, watch out for the dog. The dog. The dog is the object. Before Bunga see the object, he or she will think before see the object. He will think a dog that she usually see in her house, for example. So the way she thinks is a sense. Okay. For examples, intercourse word. In a taboo way, intercourse, it means sex. But in another context, intercourse is a communication. So it belongs to where and when you use the terms of intercourse, and another terms that have multiple conceptual meaning. Collocative meaning. Collocative meaning consists of the associations a word acquires on account of meanings of words which tend to occur in its environment. We already learned about collocation. Collocation is combination of words that's, that is naturally uh, tied together. And for example, pretty. Pretty belongs to girl, woman, and female. You cannot say that pretty belongs to boy because boy has its uh, its its characteristic like handsome. Handsome belongs to boy, man, and male. Semantic meaning is communicated by the way in which a speaker or writer and organize the organize the message in terms of ordering, focus, and emphasize. So, I read the Leach's book in thematic meanings. He put active and passive voice for the example. So, the first one, Miss B.C. Smith donated the first prize. So, in the first example, Miss B.C. Smith is priority than the rest of the praise. And the second one is the first prize was donated by Miss B.C. Smith. So it means the first prize praise is the priority in that sentence. But again, these examples have same meaning. Okay, this is the last of types of meaning. And the next material is sense. As I mentioned before, that meaning cannot be touched, cannot be saw, cannot be tasted, but we only can feel it. Same goes to sense. Sense is defined as its relations to other expressions in the language system. Thus, there are words that have a sense but no reference in the real world. So, reference will be discussed by Bunga. I have illustrated what sense is. So, more than one word have same sense. For example, I almost fell off and I nearly fell off. Almost and nearly have equivalent meaning. If we translate to Indonesia, it means saya hampir jatuh. So almost and nearly means hampir. Next one is school sidewalk, school pavement. Sidewalk and pavement have same meaning. If we translate to Indonesia, trotoar sekolah. So sidewalk and pavement is trotoar. Next, the first example is more than one word have same sense. The second one is the same word can have more than one sense. For example, the word of bank. So we can interpret that bank is the edge of river, and the bank is a money transaction place. Then the last one is alike sentences have different sense. For example, the chicken is ready to eat. The chicken is ready to be eaten. The chicken is ready to eat something. In these three sentences, we can find the word eat. But we have to be careful. In these three examples have different meaning. If we translate to Indonesian, the chicken is ready to eat. Ayam tersebut siap untuk makan. Jadi yang makan itu ayamnya. So the chicken does an action, but different to the second and third one. The chicken is ready to be eaten. Ayam tersebut siap untuk dimakan. So the chicken doesn't do an action. And the last one is the chicken is ready to eat something. Ayam tersebut siap untuk makan sesuatu. Okay. From me, back to the model.
Okay, thank you, Azmi. And now we're gonna move on to the next material, and the next material we're gonna be delivered by Bunga Fauziah. For Bunga, time is yours.
Thank you, Agus. Because my signal is bad, I ask permission to turn off the camera so that my voice can be heard clearly. Okay. In this part, we're going to focus on reference. There are two main things we're going to talk about. First is general theories of reference, and the second is referential expression. So let's start with the first part, theories of reference or general theories of reference. The theories of reference, there are two major theories. The first is denotational theory. Denotational theory. The denotational theory suggests a direct relationship between linguistic expression, or what we call the word, and the object in the real world. Certain the denotational theories suggest that meaning equals denotation, and since denotation is the relationship between the linguistic expression and the object in the real world. Therefore, meaning is the relationship between a word or linguistic expression and the object that it denotes. The denotational theory suggests the linguistic expression and the object. The object. And meaning would be denotation. Linguistic expression and the object would be denotation. Basically, the denotation theory says that semantics equals denotation. We understand the meaning of something because we know exactly what it denotes. For example, proper names denote individuals or people in the real world. Common nouns denote sets of things or objects in the world, and verbs denote action. Next slide, please. Okay. Why? Okay. When a linguistic expression expression or word may refer or have nothing that is in the real world, but yet we seem to understand this word. For example, unicorn. The linguistic expression unicorn has no actual object or even in the real world, and so is denote the meaning. If meaning equals denotation, and if in this case the denotation amount to 0 or no meaning, and so unicorn should have no meaning too or 0. We should not be able to understand the word unicorn. Next slide, please. Okay. A simple solution to this problem, unicorn, is to suggest that expression have what we call sense. In this sense, determines the word's intended reference and what it can or can denote. Next slide, please. Okay. Now we are moving to a second theory. Because we involve sense, kita tadi menyangkut pautkan dengan sense. The second theory is called the representational theory. Under the representational theory, the meaning equals mental representation or sense or concept. This is sense or concept of the word that we have in our minds. So we understand a linguistic expression because we understand its sense. Meaning is the relationship between word and the sense, or the representation that we have in our minds. Like we said, the sense or mental representation is what determines which objects in the world. The word can denote, and it determines which object in the word. Word can be example of or instance of the concept we have in our mind. Like we say, like we say, cat. Uh, like we say, nah. The word cat. We have a mental representation of the word cat that would determine for us that a cat might have 4 legs, but a cat will not be a dog because there are certain differences between cat and dog that we know in our mind and that we have stored in our lexicon. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Okay. For this slide, I will choose blue color. The word uh, the word cat, the word cat, the word cat means denotation, which is the actual object in the word. One of the problems was that sometimes there is no object in the word, like in like the case of unicorn. In this case, the representational theory came about and found a solution, which was that cat actually means, instead of the object, it means the concept that we have in our minds, or what we call this sense. This sense now is what determines which object in the world are example of category cat, and it is what will determine what denotational relationship can and can't exist. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay. Referential expression. A referring expression is any word or phrase whose purpose is to identify a particular person, place, or thing. It is generally a noun, non-phrase, or pronoun. A noun phrase in an utterance may or may not have a corresponding entity in the real world. Reference concerns the ability of linguistic expression to refer to real-world entities. Reference is a speaker act. It shows the intention of the speaker. Non-phrase is referential when it refers to a particular entity or more than one. Next slide, please. Okay, this is an example of referential expression. In examples 1, 3, and 5, the underscored phrases do not have a referent. We say they are not referential or that they are non-referential. And for example 2, 4, and 6, the very same expressions do have reference in the real world. They are referential. You can pause this video to read this example. So I want to move to next slide. Okay. It is another example, and the number one, the expression "a Greek with blue eyes" does not refer to anyone in particular and is thus non-referential. By contrast, in the number two, the same phrase does have a referent and is referential. Okay. Out of context, Jen wants to marry a Greek with blue eyes is ambiguous because nothing in the sentence indicates whether or not a particular Greek is intended. In everyday discourse, sentences of this type are rarely ambiguous given the power of context to clarify. The same phrase can be referential in one utterance and non-referential in another. Not that reference cannot be equated with definite, because referentiality and definite are not the same thing. So a noun phrase can be referential and definite, definite, and referential and indefinite, non-referential and definite, and last non-referential and indefinite. You can pause this video again. I will go to next slide. Okay, while pronouns and proper nouns are usually referential, certain pronouns such as you, it, they, and one are often non-referential. Because none of these pronouns refers to a particular entity, they are non-referential. Next slide, please. Okay. So this slide is about generic and specific expressions. A noun phrase may be generic or specific depending on whether it refers to a category or to particular members of a category. In the first example, the bombardier battle is generic because it refers to the set of all bombardiers. But in the second, which could have been uttered during a visit to a zoo, the giraffe refers to a particular animal and is thus specific. In the first sentence, the bombardier beetle is generic and definite, while lethal mixture is generic and indefinite. In the second sentence, the giraffe is specific and definite, and carrot is specific and indefinite. Thus, the generic or specific contrast differs from the definite or indefinite contrast. Next slide. Okay, modality. Modality or mood is a category through which speaker can convey their attitude toward the truth or reliability of their assertion, called epistemic modality, or express obligation, permission, or suggestion, called deontic modality. The two types of modality are interrelated, as witnessed by the fact that the same word must and may can denote either type, depending on the context. Modality can be expressed through auxiliary verbs such as may, should, or must, which are called modal auxiliaries. Through modal verbs such as order, assume, and allow. Through modal adverbs such as through modal verbs such as order, assume, and allow. Through modal adverbs such as possible, possibly, and certainly. And in some languages, through affixes attached to verbs or noun. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Epistemic and deontic modality. Epistemic interpretation have to do with knowledge and understanding. It concerns the necessity and possibility of a proposition when there is clear-cut evidence. Therefore, epistemic modality is derived from the fact that can be true from reality. It connotes how much certainty or evidence a speaker has for the proposition expressed by his or her utterance. Epistemic modality is further divided into two categories: epistemic necessity and epistemic possibility. For necessity cannot always be true, so it comes from real knowledge of the world. And for possibility isn't based on the knowledge of the real world. It only provides one of the possibilities according to the speaker's assumption. For example, epistemic necessity is the dinosaur must have died out suddenly. And for epistemic possibility, it is possible that there is intelligent life in deep space. For deontic modality is a modality that connects the speaker degree of requirement, desire, or commitment to the proposition. It relates to constraints grounded in society, duty, morality, laws, rules, etc. And deontic proposition often concern obligations or permission, hope or requirements, etc. Deontic modality heavily depends on modal verbs such as can, must, have to, ought to, could have, and etc. To express the meaning. Deontic modality is also divided into deontic necessity and possibility. Deontic necessity concerns obligation and regulation that must be followed by the people, whereas deontic possibility concerns permissible proposition. For example, deontic necessity is you must abide by the rules of the school, and for deontic possibility, you may go home. Okay, next slide. Okay, maybe enough from me. Back to the moderator. Thank you very much. Sorry if my voice not clear.
Okay, thank you, Bunga, for your presentation. And now the last material is gonna delivered by myself. So the next one is about tense. So tense is a grammatical feature that indicates the time of an action or event. According to Lyons, tense refers to the grammatical category that locates situation in time, which is past, present, or future in relation to the moment of speech. So the first one is past tense. Past tense is a event or something that occur when the utterance has been spoken. So it talk about past, and the example of it is I slept at 4 o'clock. And the next one is about present tense. So present tense is an event that occur when the utterance is delivered, like the present times. And the example of it is Arjuna is sad. And the last one is about future tense. Future tense is events that happen or that occur when the utterance in the future, which is not really happen right now. And the example of it is the game will be closed tomorrow. Okay, and the next one. Sorry. And the next one is about aspect. So what is aspect? Aspect is a linguistic concept that refers to the way in which in the temporal structure of an event is expressed in a sentence. So like this example, Atma watching a movie and Rizky has been returned. That's the example of it. But if you want to look in more detail, according to Fendler, aspect can be divided into 4 categories. And as you can see in the slide, the first one is state. State is a condition, is a situation that do not have a clear beginning or end. So, like the example of it is Bais is a male and Akbar knows how to play a game. So, as you can see, in that example, it doesn't have any beginning or it doesn't have any ending. It's just like something like facts or something like that. And the second one is about activity. And the second one is activities. Activities is a situation that have a clear beginning but not a clear end. Then the example of it is she eats a lot of sweet. And we can see the beginning is clearly, which is she eats a lot of sweet, but we never know how it ends. It could be she ended have diabetes or something like that. We never know, but we know that she eats a lot of sweet, which is the beginning. And the third one is about accomplishment. So accomplishment is a situation that have a clear beginning and end, but no inherent duration. So, and the example of it is Sueb goes to school by himself nowadays. We can see a beginning and we can see the ending, but no inherent duration, like how much time to Sueb goes to school, we never know. And the next one is about achievements. Achievement is a situation with a clear beginning and end and a clear endpoint. And the example of it is Jajang has returned to his home. So as we can see, in the beginning, Jajang has returned to his home. And the ending is has returned to his home. And the endpoint also, he returned as his home. Okay, so, and the last subject or the last material is gonna be subordinate clause. So, what is subordinate clause? Subordinate clause is a type of clause that cannot stand alone as a sentence, but function as a part of a larger sentence, usually modifying the main clause, which is a clause, or we can simply say that a clause that cannot stand alone. Like the example of it is the dog stopped running when Jack blew the whistle. The dog stopped running, it still can't stand alone, but when it comes to only when Jack blew the whistle, it cannot stand alone. It doesn't have any meaning, like, So, and in the subordinate clause also have 3 X, which is subordinate adverbial clause, subordinate adjective clause, and subordinate noun clause. And as you can see in the slide, we can see the example of it. And the example of subordinate adverbial clause is I fish until the sun went down. So the subordinate clause until the sun went down modifies the verb fish. It is an adverbial clause. The next one is about subordinate adjective clause. And the example of it is the bull that charged us is back in the field. Nah, that sentence is the bull. The sentence, the subordinate clause that charged us describe the bull. It is an adjective clause. And the last is subordinate noun clause. And the example of it is whoever dislikes the new timings is more than welcome to leave. The subordinate clause, whoever dislikes the new things, is the subject of the sentence. So it is a noun clause. So I think that's all from us. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any question, or maybe if you have any opinion, you can share your thought in our Schoology. So that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.